and welcome to the first episode of the Motorsport Games Podcast. My name is Luke James and I'm joined by my wonderfully bearded colleague, Justin Sutton, all the way from America. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. You know, times are tough right now, but I'm working from home. I'm playing video games. You know, things could be worse for sure. Making the best of this difficult situation. How about yourself?
Doing really good. As you said, it's a weirdest time in the world, but yeah, working from home a lot. In my spare time, I'm getting through my Xbox game library like a mad, playing loads of Dirt Rally, loads of Forza. But yeah, genuinely just enjoying life again. Look, Justin, we could talk about what we're playing at the minute all the time, but I want to know a bit more about you, and I'm sure the people listening do as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about ourselves. I'm in my 30s. I've been a gamer since the late 80s. I'll say that. I'll say the late 1980s. I don't want to give exact dates out. I've worked for IGP Manager, which is a motorsport management sort of game that you can play online. I've worked for Veloce Esports, who have been involved in a lot of racing esports and other esports as well too, including Le Mans Esports. And most recently, I'm community manager over at Motorsport Games, focusing at the moment mainly on NASCAR Heat, but among other things as well too. I know you're over at Motorsport Games now as well, but why don't you go ahead and give us some background as well?
Yeah, I kind of grew up loving Formula One, huge Lewis Hamilton fan. Never really thought I'd get into motorsport. I applied for a job that said, do you like sport and do you like social media? And lo and behold, I ended up working at the FIA World Rallycross Championship for 5 years, running all of their digital activities, a lone madman running around racetracks, interviewing people, taking photos, editing video. But yeah, I think my passion for motorsport just went through the roof. I've been playing games probably since the late 80s as well, probably, yeah, late 80s baby. And yeah, to kind of combine the two in my current role, I'm currently the social media manager for Motorsport Games. I also look after social media for Le Mans Esports as well. You also do some commentary for Le Mans Esports as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. One of my favorite esports that's been going on actually in 2020. I was very lucky to be able to join alongside Chris for, it was the race at Sebring and the race at Spa that I was there for. And yeah, lots of fun. Motorsport Games did a fantastic job of putting that all together. And yeah, I just had a blast with it. It's a great series.
You were supposed to go to Sebring as well, weren't you? Until before this whole world lockdown went crazy.
Yes, I was going to be going to Sebring. That was going to be a lot of fun. I was very excited about that, if I could be totally honest about it. I'm very sad about missing it. I was supposed to go to the Homestead NASCAR race as well, because they were like back to back, like same weekend even, in fact. So I was going to do Sebring. And my first ever NASCAR race was supposed to be the same weekend. So I was pumped about that, but unfortunately it just wasn't to be. It's been delayed though. I'm still planning to go at some point.
I've just put in a request to one of our bosses. I'm like, look, I work kind of with NASCAR Heat now. I need to get over stateside to go and visit one. Look, I think a lot of people are going to be asking who are Motorsport Games. So Justin, why don't you kind of run through a quick summary of who we are?
Yeah, Motorsport Games is obviously under the umbrella of the Motorsport Network. It's a little bit sort of a new thing, so I understand people are a little bit confused. We work with 704 Games on the NASCAR titles. We work on esports stuff. We on broadcasts, like I said, with the Le Mans Esports, among other things as well too. We do the Motorsport Games also does the broadcast for the eNASCAR Pro League, the eNASCAR Heat Pro League as well. So lots of stuff at the moment. But lots more to come as well. So it's kind of like a growing entity. But I think that's kind of the reason we wanted to do this podcast, isn't it? We wanted to introduce ourselves to the world, get ourselves out there, start, learning the fans and just start a dialogue with people. And I think, what better way to do it than a podcast?
Exactly, yes. I think under our umbrella as well, we're also producing not only Pro League and Le Mans Esports, we're also producing the Formula E Race at Home Challenge and also the World Rex Esports Invitational. So our wonderfully busy production team have been working flat out. I think it was something like 30 or 40 events over 50 days. These guys have been working amazingly. A huge round of applause for our production team. But the podcast, the Motorsport Games Podcast, we're here to talk to the best of the best from the virtual racing world and the real racing world as well. Now, I think it's a good time. We've had so many of these real world racing stars trying their hand at sim racing. I was just watching the V8 supercars this morning with Lando Norris. I'd love to get him on as a guest one day. But we're here to just talk about all things racing games with some of the best from the motorsport and virtual motorsport worlds. So, Justin, I want to know a few questions. I've got a few questions for you. I want to know a few things. What game are you playing currently?
At the moment, I've been playing quite a bit of Wreckfest, actually. I got the season pass for it, which gave me a bunch of like new cars and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been playing Wreckfest quite a bit with my friends. We switch from game to game from time to time. It had been a while since we played some Wreckfest. We all found out about all this additional content, and we went nuts, and every single one of us bought the season pass. And then yeah, we ended up playing for hours and hours and hours last weekend. I was exhausted by the end of it. What about yourself? What are you playing at the moment mainly?
I'm just jealous you have friends who play racing games with you. I don't have friends who are into motorsport, let alone get on a console for hours and kind of smash out a few laps on dirt. I would absolutely love that. I just mentioned that. I think I might have mentioned at the start of the show, I'm a rallycross boy through and through. I probably put in about 100 races last weekend online on Dirt Rally 2.0. Take me on around the Estering. I promise you, nobody will beat me. I'm getting so good. But yeah, I actually kind of tried my hand at. I'm not really allowed to have a go at the Le Mans Sports, but I was like, you know what? I want to test myself against some of the best. So I loaded up Forza Motorsport 7, went into the rivals event for Le Mans Sports. I think it was pro individual qualifying round 6, something along those lines at Spa in a Porsche 911. I was 17 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, that'll bruise the ego. That'll bruise the ego.
It wasn't good. I kind of thought, yeah, I've been doing this racing game thing for a while. I've been around motorsport for a while. I can put in a good lap. And you suddenly just, I think those moments there you have, I watch the kind of the sim racing or esports specialist, and it's always like, they're good, but I never really realized how good until I try and race them. And that's why I really want to get into a lobby with the current dirt world champion, Kylian Delhomme. He's a young guy from France, and I watch this kid. He is smashing the World of Rex actual pro drivers. He is on another level. And I've spoken to a couple of the real world FI World Rallycross drivers. They are so scared about getting in a lobby with him. So scared. Justin, right, what is your all-time favorite racing game?
All-time favorite, I got to go with something recent. I know it's maybe a decision that people wouldn't approve of, but I'm not a nostalgia gamer. I like, whatever's bright and shiny and new and awesome. And for me right now, it's actually not that new anymore, but it's still Forza Horizon 4. I've just got so many hours on that game. I love the customization. I love the mix of sim and arcade, leaning more towards arcade rather than sim, but it's that perfect mix for me where, you can get the back end out and it's going to be pretty, it's going to let you get away with it. You're not just going to slide out or anything like that. There's not a lot of games where you can catch huge air. Dirt is one of those, though, where you can catch some huge air. So yeah, I mean, it's strange to say, but my favorite racing game of all time is actually Forza Horizon 4. That game in 1440p on a racing wheel on a PC, 140 FPS. Oh, it's heaven. It's heaven. It's everything my younger self dreamed about. What about you, though? I mean, is it something recent or is it something a little older?
I think that more recently, it's obviously, I could speak about Dirt for hours and hours, but going back to maybe the PlayStation 2 and the original Gran Turismo games, those games there were, I think my first ever foray into that we'd all played Mario Kart growing up. We'd all had to go on very simple racing games. My first chance actually to get behind a wheel of a real world car, a car that I recognized in the street. And I think that's where my kind of instant love for racing games came from. I was just absolutely hooked. And to see that progression of the kind of Gran Turismo series up to where it is now, and with their kind of Gran Turismo World Championship and official FIA World Championship, it's really cool to see the kind of progression of that game. And yeah, really like I was lucky to work with Tom Brooks, the lead commentator for Gran Turismo last year.
Love Tom,
really good guy. But to see how professionally he takes it and how professionally they take him, to have such a huge scale production, taking it around the world, I think it's awesome. And it's a testament to where esports has grown over the past few years. I think it's really, really awesome. Right, tough question. What is your least favorite racing game ever?
Ooh, that is a harder one, because I think you try to block them out of your memory. I just don't even want to think about that game anymore. I got a good one, actually. It was Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. It came out on the PS1 or PS2. I want to say it was early early 2000s, I think it was. So it might have been a PS2 game, like one of the early PS2 games. And I just remember switching from that, coming from like the original Need for Speed games, which had like the McLaren F1, the Ferrari F40, the Ferrari F50, like Acura NSX, Toyota Supra, incredible performance machines. And then I got Porsche Unleashed, and you're driving like a 1973 Porsche 911 with 175 horsepower or something, and you're just, it was brutal. And it might be one of those things where actually, it turns out the physics were actually quite good back then, but me at 14, 15 years old, however old I was when I was playing it, I was just so underwhelmed with that game. And I remember my mom bought it too. It wasn't a rental. Like someone bought it for me, and I had to like keep it in my collection and pretend to like it and stuff like that. I think I put maybe an hour into it or something, and yeah, it just was not for me. But that's the thing about racing games. You just got to find the one that's right for you.
I can see that still hurts, the passion that comes out of you when you talk about that game. Do you still have it? That's a good question. Do you still have that game?
No. I have no idea where it is. I don't want to know. My obligations for pretending to like it are over.
He's done with it. All right, we've got some amazing guests coming up on the first show, including the first ever dual discipline FIA World Champion, Petter Solberg. We've got a YouTuber who goes by the name of FailRace. You might have heard of him. Create some pretty good YouTube videos. But Justin, do you want to introduce our first guest?
Yeah, our very first guest is a good friend of mine, somebody that I've spent a lot of time with over the last 5 years or so. I can't believe I'm saying it. It's been half a decade since I've known him. It is incredibly popular F1 YouTuber, Aarava, and I had the fantastic opportunity to sit down and have a chat with him. Today, I am joined by Aarava, an F1 YouTuber with 361,000 subscribers and 168 million views, and obviously someone I know pretty well as well. Hello, Aarava. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Justin. Yeah, good to be here. Good to be here.
So we're going to kick things off because this is the first episode, and you are one of our very first guests. So we're just going to kick things off and just kind of talk about what's going on in the world. I mean, it's very strange times that we're living in. Obviously, you've had most of your YouTube career under one circumstance, and now you're under a completely different circumstance. But are things still going pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, I think my job's probably one of the least affected, thankfully, in this whole situation, which I don't take for granted, really. But obviously, it's a little bit different. I think I had plans to do a lot of stuff in real life, actually, and going places, and the same with my esports team, Veloce, as well, in terms of content plans, but just even socially as well. So that's obviously very, very different. But, you got to make the most of it. I think the phrase is make lemonade out of lemons. So, we're making the best of the situation, having all these, real life drivers available to go virtual racing with, and all these crazy opportunities that we're getting now obviously wouldn't have come through such an unfortunate incident, but got to make the best of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you got to do. You got to take what life gives you, make the best of it. So it's great to see that you're filling your days and doing well on YouTube and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. You've done the stuff with Veloce. Obviously, you've been with Veloce for a while. But more recently, your new kind of role that you've added on to the list of things you do with them is commentary, doing the Not the GP stuff with Ginger Andy, which has been fantastic. I've been watching, obviously.
I appreciate that.
How's that been going for you? How are you liking the commentary life?
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I'm not like, alien to the whole commentary thing, because I do it every day for videos, but it's a different experience doing it live, I guess, and having no chance to edit out any mistakes. But I guess that also kind of gets taken away when you've got a second commentator. I think, when you're doing a solo commentary, it's just you bouncing off yourself. So you can't really make a mistake, whereas you have time to breathe and, relax and take it in when, like Andy's commentating, and I can just relax a bit and take it all in. So yeah, it's been really fun. I've been racing in the events and then commentating, so I get that kind of real life experience almost of how it is to be a real pundit, because pundits usually are, most of them, the really good ones are, former drivers or former sportsmen in sports broadcasting. So it's kind of funny in that way. I kind of had like a micro version of that, of racing in the Oz GP and Bar GP, and then literally 2 weeks later being a pundit or commentator for it. So it's a really cool dynamic to watch what others were seeing, I guess, when I was racing, and kind of seeing that side of it.
It's been sort of like a surreal experience, obviously, because I've dabbled in it as well too, and when I was commentating on you and Nicholas Latifi battling, I was just like, this is so weird. This is so strange. What's been like a surreal moment for you where you're like,
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was when I lined up with the 1v1 against Charles Leclerc. That was just insane. Like to even just hear him back on his Twitch stream, like say my name and just talk about me as if I'm just some random competitor that he's gone up against or whatever like that. And then being able to just line up and say, you know, it's not in real life, but it's the closest thing I could probably ever get to being wheel to wheel with him is virtually on the F1 game like that. And I think a lot of my viewers said it really nicely. Like I went from battling Charles Leclerc the AI to Charles Leclerc the person, and it's really strange still now because like the next day I went back to making a normal career mode video of mine, and I probably said the words Charles Leclerc as an AI driver in that video of mine, and it was, you know, when I was saying it I had to kind of not mess it up because almost in my brain I was like, this is really weird. I said this name yesterday, but in the context of the actual person I was racing. So yeah, very, very cool experience. But even stuff with Latifi, like holding up an F1 driver, doing a switchback move on an F1 driver was supreme. He obviously learned from me because the next lap he kind of blocked it off. But to do it once on an F1 driver was just pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really strange stuff because, of course, again, you know, you're an F1 YouTuber. That's the main thing. You do other things as well, too, but that's the main thing that you're known for. And so many years being involved, and then now to be this ingrained into it, I mean, it's fantastic. Which would you choose, though? If you had the choice to do the commentary or the driving, which would you prefer?
Ooh, you know what? The commentary is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I think if I was quicker at the F1 game and more consistent online, I would choose the driving. But because I do too much offline stuff, I'm so used to being able to edit stuff out, and just generally, I'm used to racing slow AI cars then compared to F1 drivers that are freaking quick. No surprise. Obviously, they've taken to the F1 game very rapidly. I think there was like half a chance of a lot of us being as quick on at the very first event we did, and not the Oz GP. But now 4 weeks on, these guys are getting up to like esports level of pace sometimes. So I probably would choose the commentary now because it is a lot of fun as well. It's really fun to commentate on not only the F1 drivers, which in itself is crazy to think, because I think you've maybe had it before, you know, doing commentary in the past. It's kind of cool to think, oh, what if I could commentate on a real life sporting event? And so this is the closest thing you can get, commentating on a real life driver. But then you also got commentating on just your friends as well, racing them. So it's kind of a really cool dynamic of like you're almost cheering them on. Like I think when Will and E had a go at Charles Leclerc at the German GP we did, you know, I was actually spurring him on, having that commentator's bias, because it was great to see a YouTuber, massive influencer like that from the UK, actually try and dive bomb an F1 driver like that, try and stick it to him. So it's a great dynamic and a lot of fun just to have a laugh and shout at some people virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. And what have you been watching as well? Because obviously this is strange times. So
yeah,
I'm sure you know we've all been watching a lot of like Netflix and stuff like that. But in terms of like YouTube and sporting stuff, have you been watching the F1 virtual GP? Have you been watching any of the WRX stuff? What are you?
I've been watching a lot of the IndyCar stuff actually. That's been quite interesting to watch. Virtual GP not so much, because it kind of clashes a lot of the time with our events and just kind of videos I'm doing on the weekend. But I've caught 2 of the IndyCar challenges, and I've got to say, every time the 2 I've watched, I've said it before on Twitter, hands down the best spectacle, I think, in terms of esports racing. Like the broadcast style is all very much like TV. They got the exact same TV commentators, which, don't get me wrong, it's cool to get people like us involved in the F1 stuff. But at the same time, as a spectacle, I can see what they're going for, and they've, you know, executed it really well. And I'm just impressed with the level of the professionalism up to a point, obviously. As we saw in the last direct.
I see what you did there. Yeah,
up until then, it was really cool to see everyone take it really seriously. Like, it was awesome to hear like people had spotters and engineers, you know, going through lap times and data like that. And that's the kind of, you know, thing you get with iRacing, I guess. So that's been really cool to watch. And also just, I've been dipping my toe and watching some highlights of the virtual GP and highlights of even the NASCAR stuff, and just kind of seeing what everyone else is doing, really, just kind of get a sense of how people are tackling the different sports and different kind of ways to broadcast, I guess.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on, obviously, in the sporting world and stuff. But as we mentioned, you know, your channel is doing quite well. And this should be coming out the day after a big announcement from you.
Yeah.
So we're not breaking the news right now, but we are talking about it in advance since we're recording this ahead of time. But you've recently announced that My Driver is going to be coming back. How big is that for you? How excited are you for that?
Yeah, I am so high. I had the reveal trailer that would have gone out by now, like yesterday, I think, week, or at least before earlier in the week, basically, once this episode's out. I had that made and kind of worked on it for like 3 weeks ago. So I've kind of had that hype built up in my mind of like, I can't wait to see the reaction, because I did an April Fool's tweet about my driver, and that got like over 1,000 likes on Twitter on an April Fool's tweet. So I can't even imagine right now what the hype is hopefully going to be like when I drop that trailer. And yeah, I mean, it's a weird situation, you know, obviously it's a weird time. I don't think I would have done my driver if it wasn't for this whole COVID pandemic, to be honest, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for maybe little gain in terms of YouTube nowadays, in terms of the way the algorithm works and all that stuff. But I thought, you know what, it's a really tough time. You know, even myself, I'm struggling for motivation at times. You know, I think it'd be a really cool, good feel vibe to just bring back this series that everyone still asks me to bring back. Like every week, I'll have at least 2-3 comments on a video, a tweet saying, bring it back, bring it back. And, you know, it's the thing that I think most people know me for, at least in the F1 community, like the hardcore community on Twitter and whatnot. So I thought, you know what, let's bring back one final hurrah in this kind of very tough time. And the timing could not be perfect in terms of the way I've timed it. Hopefully should just end just before the F1 2020 game comes out, so that'll be really decent.
Yeah, that is actually really good timing. Good point on that. And yeah, I completely sympathize with you on being known for my driver, because that's something that I've struggled with for a number of years now, as everybody calls me the my driver guy. So I totally know what that's like.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. I'm sure because you're not like you didn't even make the series. You're just part of it, like participating. So it's like really weird. It's almost like when actors get known, like you're that guy for that series. Right. It's like that. Yeah, that's really weird.
Even though you've done 10 things since then, you're still known like the guy from American Pie and what he did with that pie. He's always going to be known for that.
Exactly that. And you're not alone, to be fair, because recently I think Sophia Flourish put an Instagram post up, I think like a week ago as we're recording this, about how she was curious about how people found out about her. And a lot of people said obviously that horrific crash she had. But a few people were tagging and atting me going, it was my driver series. Like, this is really weird. Like, you know, a whole driver just off a YouTube series. So it's kind of cool in that sense. I'm proud of that, of like, you know, quite early on in 2016, I was putting all these GP2 drivers in. And I don't know, the F1 community has kind of grown a little bit since then. I think a lot more people now know F2 as a category a bit more, I think, in general. I think back then in 2016, people just watched F1 and nothing but. So they were kind of oblivious to all these great GP2 drivers at the time. Now F1 drivers, now there's, you know, case in point, Gasly, Giovinazzi. But at the time, there were a few people saying genuinely like they didn't know who those guys were if it weren't for my series. So it's kind of cool in that sense at the same time, but it's just weird as well to be like, you only know a real life driver because of that.
And I don't know what sort of details you would have given out about my driver. Is there anything you can tell us? Like, is it going to be a full length season? Is it going to be condensed?
It's it's kind of run like almost like if a TV show came back after a long while, a reboot. It's going to be a shorter, like 11 race calendar. So it's going to be short and sweet, basically. And so it's going to be that vibe of like one last hurrah, basically. Like, you know, I think the original calendars we did were like 15, 14, I think I remember. So definitely a bit more condensed, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of things that make its way back from the last season, a few nostalgia bits. I've kind of revamped the graphics a little bit, which you'll see once the actual first episode comes out. But there are quite a few bits that have made it from when I last did it, basically, because I think I need to strike that fine balance between a lot of people don't know what it is, so they want to see some, you know, new high-res graphics and stuff. But also I want to kind of throw in some Easter eggs of like, oh, these are the old graphics from, you know, when you guys used to watch it back then. So it's a nice dynamic, I think.
And I'll actually surprise you with this question. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. What are you excited for about F1 2020? Because obviously you're known as an F1 YouTuber. Yeah. I've watched your videos. You're my go-to source for news when it comes to, you know, new features that are being announced and all that kind of stuff. What are you most excited for? The Create Your Team or something else?
It's I mean, it's got to be it's a massive game mode. Like when it came out, I actually couldn't, like, I didn't know anything about it early on, and then Codemasters gave us the press release, and I honestly had to just pick my jaw up the floor, basically, because it just fell off when I actually read the words "create your own team" in, like, it'll be the 11th team, because, like, just before, it really did not, you know, I wouldn't have thought it was even possible, because for so many years, Codemasters were telling us there's so much red tape, there's so much this and that, and license issues. So the fact that it was able to happen is crazy. So it's really exciting, because I think the way it's looking like, it's almost a nice blend between Motorsport Manager and the F1 game, because obviously you're still going to drive and do the races, but there's all this management stuff, which is the kind of very nerdy side of F1, which I've always appreciated. So looking forward to that. But also, I mean, it's just the F1 game. I just look forward to it every single year. Every year, the AI seems to get better and better. So I don't take that for granted. I think some people do take that for granted, that the AI do get better every single year. And so every year, it's just more fun to play, really. And it just gets, the longevity's better. And then, of course, I can't not say F1 esports as well, because that's been quite exciting to be somewhat involved, obviously, with, Veloce and Alfa Romeo as it stands. So the new season will be pretty exciting. Hopefully, the racing can be a little bit more open. I think last year there were a few issues with having a lot of DRS trains. So here's hoping the new ERS system kind of fixes that a little bit. But, esports obviously is a massive part of the F1 game now.
Yeah, the esports is definitely heading in the right direction. The games are heading in the right direction. It seems to be improving year after year. So I'm definitely just as excited as you are, and I can't wait to see the content that you produce with it. What other games are you looking forward to? I mean, it could be. I mean, we've got Dirt 5 coming out that's been announced. There was that BTCC game that's been announced kind of as well too. And also just in the non-racing space as well too. You've got like Cyberpunk 2077 and all sorts of fun stuff. What are you excited for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, so when it comes to like motorsport games, I guess, I mean, I've got to this point with my channel where thankfully I can dip my toe into a game for like, a short while, and the videos do quite well. And my fans do enjoy watching me just kind of, usually be bad at other racing games and other motorsport games. I recently did the MotoGP game, just had a laugh with it basically. And
I saw that.
Was a complete noob, but people love to just see me try something new. So looking forward to it, like you said, the new grid game, BTCC, even like the new NASCAR game I saw was going to come out quite soon. The similar time to the F1 game as well, so probably try that as well. If anything else comes out, I've actually been delving more and more into Assetto Corsa and trying other genres of motorsport, so that's all fine. In terms of other games though, I'm a massive gamer at just outside racing games, so looking forward to games like The Last of Us 2. I'm like a massive fan of the first game, still my all-time favorite game, so can't wait to play that. Like you said, Cyberpunk, that's also so highly anticipated. I cannot wait. I mean, all the trailers we've seen have just been absolutely glorious. And then obviously at the end of the year we've got the next gen consoles. I can't wait for it, because it's always quite exciting to have this new piece of technology, what new visuals come out. I mean, even I think the Unreal 5 engine was shown from the PS5 engine, and that just looked insane, like movie style CGI in your console at home. Like it's just it's unbelievable.
And lastly, just to wrap things up, since we're kind of talking about next gen, I know F1 2020 is not out yet. We are hearing a lot of details about it, though. What would you like to see? Because obviously, I would assume this is going to be the last F1 game on this generation of console. Yeah, so I would assume it's going to be going on to that, better hardware and stuff like that. We can assume a graphics increase. What other sort of like features would you like to see? Would you like to see like a better paint booth or something like that? VR?
VR would definitely be quite tasty, because anytime I have tried in VR, I've tried it quite loosely on Assetto Corsa, and it always is a very surreal experience. Like I don't play it a lot, but whenever I do, I always come out of it saying that that's an insane experience. Like it's a little bit tough to continuously play it for videos, because it's kind of hard to record VR and in a nice kind of way at the moment. I'm hoping that technology in that kind of sense also develops, to being able to record VR a little bit better and have it be a bit more palatable, I guess, and not so like motion blurry. But every time I've stepped into it, it's amazing. So that would be cool. They've always said it's something they can't do right now. So maybe with that next gen kind of, more space on the hardware, more power, they could run it in VR. But like you said, kind of just having more customization everywhere, and kind of having that, using that extra horsepower where you can use it obviously for like things like a proper custom livery editor, because right now we know the custom livery is going to be very loosely based off the multiplayer stuff they had in F1 2019 already, which is a bit of a shame. So looking forward to hopefully they have a proper editor for that kind of stuff. I mean, away from the kind of power of the console, it's really just a case of every year just looking at what Liberty and F1 open up and what Cody's can imagine they can open up for the F1 game, because there's still so much red tape stuff that we've said in videos, or fans have said that they want to see in the F1 game. It's just about kind of waiting to see when Cody's an F1 think it's the right time to do it, when their marketing team thinks, oh, you know what, this year it's the right time to do this game mode or this thing in the game, and hopefully the technology allows them to do that a little bit quicker, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, if you're not already subscribed to Aarava on YouTube, just type in Aarava, Aarava, and there's lots of content to choose from, lots of stuff to check out. You can also see his commentary with Veloce Esports in their Not PvP series as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, no problem.
Justin, how did you convince Aarava to give you a teaser on My Driver? I have been badgering him for so long in my tweets to try and get something about that.
Well, I've helped out in previous seasons. I've been sort of like the reporter, updating people on the news, doing the qualifying reports, stuff like that. People still call me the My Driver guy, as I told Aarava in the interview. So yeah, when he actually contacted me a couple weeks ago and let me know well in advance that he was going to be starting this back up. I imagine his flatmate Niren probably knew about it as well too. So there's a couple of us that probably knew in advance, but. Yeah, I was absolutely thrilled when he said it was going to be coming back. It is a fan favorite.
Man, it's honestly, in terms of YouTube series, I don't think I've ever invested so much in terms of notification goes off. I am wherever I am. If I'm in the office, I'm turning it on. Yeah, Aarava, you've done an awesome job on that. And sorry, I couldn't join that call. Next up, we have how do you introduce him? He's a star from the 90s, the 2000s. He used to wear the famous blue and gold of Subaru. I don't think it gets more iconic other than Ferrari and motorsport. He's a personal friend of mine. I've known him for quite a while now. Here's Mr. Petter Solberg. Mr. Petter Solberg, welcome, first of all, to the Motorsport Games Podcast. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Every day is a good day.
You've gone from a man known from going sideways in cars to this lockdown seems to have turned you into a circuit racing sim racer. How has that happened?
Well, it's a challenge, and I love challenges. I've done a lot of different things in my career, and well, obviously I've done some circuit before. I tested the Formula One Ferrari for a full day, and then I also did 1 day testing with Aarava with the LMP1. And I got actually a contract there, but I said no because I want to continue with rallying. So yeah, I love circuit racing, but in gaming it's a little bit different for sure. But I thought it was a good challenge, and the good guys is in there. A lot of big guys, a lot of champions, and it's gone over the moon, to be honest with you.
I remember at the World RX events over the past few years, Oliver was always stuck to the dirt games on the PlayStation. Just how influential has he been for you getting into the sim racing side of things?
Well, I was a part of the Colin McRae game. First of all, when that came out, me and Colin McRae, we were testing in his hotel room and writing all the details down that has to improve. So I was involved from the first Colin McRae game, basically. And then it went very quiet for a long time. And when the dirt came into the picture, and especially this year, I've been driving quite a lot. But still, this dirt game, I must say, is fantastic opportunity for us that can't drive now, and also for many other people. And it's for everybody. Everybody have a good possibility, and also with the Solberg Challenge now, World Cup, that I'm not keeping the speed as the best ones, that's for sure. I must say some of them are really, really fast, very, very impressive, and of course it's great to see that it's also a lot of professional guys that can actually specialize on this also, and we can learn from them a little bit also. But to keep up with Oliver is no chance.
I think the next question would be then: are we going to see you taking part in the World RX Esports Invitational?
Well, I done the Formula One race now, and I did this R Factor thing. The R Factor, because of the people and stuff, it was great fun. I didn't have a time enough to prepare for the Formula One race, so I ended up 12, I think. So I was not so happy about that. You need to prepare if you're going to go into this gaming properly, to be honest with you. So, but I haven't heard anything from the Rallycross. I've never been invited and never heard anything. So, I have been, me and Oliver, we have been invited for everything else except for the Rallycross. So I think we maybe feel not so prioritized there. So maybe you should forget it.
I know a few people. I'm going to put in a good word for you there.
Don't push anybody. If they don't want us, we don't want to come there.
First ever world champion in Rallycross, double champion. I'm sure we can get you a space in there. You briefly mentioned Colin there. you were actually testing the game. You lived near in Monaco, and you were going to his hotel room and testing with Colin. How was that working on the games in those early days?
I was his teammate in '99 when we were driving for Ford, and we became best friends. And I was the young guy, and I think I was better in gaming that time than he was. So when we did the recce and testing all around the world. And at night, after we had a dinner, we went to his hotel room and we were testing and playing and developing and making things better. And then we were sending it back to the guys to improve it. So it was actually when I was, my first year as a factory driver for Ford in '99, where me and Colin came very close, and we were it became a huge success with that game. So it was actually fantastic to see.
So you mentioned Colin there being a teammate. You've also had Richard Burns. You've had some of the best teammates, I think, in motorsport history. A good question for you would be, what makes the perfect rally driver? What three characteristics would make the perfect rally driver?
Well, I think first of all is the passion. It's very important, and where you come from, your background basically, and you can be the biggest talent in the world, but the other thing, you need good people around you. You need good teammates, good atmosphere, and and also engineers and everything. All this together as a package makes a good driver. So it's impossible to do it yourself. It's the same as gaming. Without many people involved in the game that have experience and you can share information and put everything together. That's why things getting a success basically. So you're never alone, but it's maybe the front figure of the whole thing is the drivers, but it's so many people in the background. Whatever you do, that needs to be like a perfect match.
You've obviously been keeping a very close eye on Oliver's career so far. I think he's gone from racing in Latvian rallies due to these age limit a few years ago to now appearing with you on the world stage. How amazing was it for you to be racing in the same category as Oliver at Wales Rally GB last October?
Of course, that first of all, yeah, he did the rallying and rallycross since he was 15, and he had done cross kart since he was 8, driven on the farm here all the time. He was also driving a little bit go-kart in France when he was young. So, but again, it's all about having fun and see that the kids having this smile when they do things and enjoy. We try to get him into ice hockey and football, but it seems like he found his way. And the develop of things, you have a lot of young talents all around the world, but at the end of the day, you need to have fun with it and not too early plan or a too early strategy with things. But he have had a great success in Latvia, Estonia, and with the Nordic Rallycross. He won all of it, and now into the World Championship in GB together. He got his driving license 1 week before, and the media in Norway and Sweden was crazy. So I think the pressure he had was quite high. So the preparation maybe wasn't the perfect before the race. And I came there to have fun, enjoy, to do my last rally, with all the success I had in GB, and ending up winning it. And Oliver went off. So I felt sad at the same time, but I think he had some amazing stage times,
Yeah.
But again, you have to do a full race, and but I think he enjoyed my victory, and also good fun to drive my last rally and his first rally in the World Championship together. I think it made a fantastic memory and a history.
I think was your first ever rally win at Wales Rally GB as well. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes. So it was quite special. We had all the friends there, sponsors, family, and I did a lot of different events last year, like a farewell tour. When I did Goodwood Festival Speed, Gymkhana Grid, was great. I won all of it. I did, and so it's hard to have a better end of your career than I had last year, And obviously, I was sick for 2 years before that when I did the rallycross, and it wasn't the easiest time of my career. But now I'm well, and then I'm going faster.
So I guess how have you, Pernilla and Oliver, been coping with lockdown? You've got your amazing workshop there, which I'm sure keeps you very busy.
Well, we haven't been so much in the workshop, to be honest with you, and of course I have to be much more careful than maybe many other people because of the lung sickness I had. So I have to be careful. But I've been on the farm the whole time, driving a lot of quad bike, a lot of gaming. So we have made a gaming room together, me and Oliver. Made walls and floors, and I also ordered my own sim. Is coming on Wednesday, so nice. We have one each. And I ordered a little bit better equipment than Oliver has. So,
well done.
Yeah, you understand, Justin, that we need to have the best. Especially
Absolutely.
When you are in my age, we have to have a small advantage compared with the young kids. But they also made the track on the farm. I have a rally stage here, but I also made a rallycross track in front of the house, 1 kilometer long. So we can sit on the terrace and we can drive with cars and quad bikes, and it was just finished 2 days ago. So so now it's full action here.
What cars are you planning to drive on that track then?
I have a lot of different cars here, on the farm, that just for fun, not any expensive cars, but that we can crash and destroy. But I have 14 quad bikes, so we get a lot of friends here, so we're gonna have some competition.
Nice.
And we have to enjoy. This is what we love, and we have to wake up every morning to try to find some cool things that makes you happy.
You just said you've ordered a whole new setup. Are you able to tell us any of the bits of equipment you've got on the way?
Oh.
Have I put you on the spot here?
Well, I have like I get the better TV now also because everything was sold out. So I got this new gaming Samsung TVs, and then I also have the SimCube and the Fanatec steering wheel to compare what is the best. Because this is what I like. I like to get stuff. I can take example like when I made the rallycross car, I got Sachs dampers, I got Rager, I got Alines and everything to compare and be sure that we have the best. And then you have the best supplier that can want to support you to fine tune things. Mm-hmm. This is a hobby and a sport itself. And the pedal set we Oliver have now. We have made some own hydraulic system on it with the brakes, calipers and stuff from the rallycross car, basically. Wow. So it's actually a very expensive. So I have the upright, the caliper and everything connected to that. And now I also ordered another one to compare, to see how that is compared with what they make on the gaming side and try to improve that. We will see. You have to compare, and if this is not good enough, the Fanatec one, then I have to get the other one. Again. So,
what are you missing the most about motorsport life? It's probably been your quietest period, I guess, since the early 2000s. How are you coping with not traveling to a motorsport event every weekend?
It's not about early 2000 guys. I've been doing motorsport with my parents since '82 every weekend when we did 6 races in the summertime, living in the bus and traveling. And since '82 until this thing with the corona happened, I've been traveling, 250 to 280 days per year. So it's very strange, Pernilla asked me to clean the floor and do some washing, and honestly, I hate it. And it's a big problem. I'm an old-fashioned guy, and I don't like to do things like this. But end of the day, this is happening, and we have to respect it. And what then I do gaming, and I won the race in our factory this weekend, and I had the champagne after, and it was really great. A victory is a victory, and when it's hard competition, some of the best guys and We have a lot of fun together on the WhatsApp group. A lot of bullshit all the time, and it's great. What I'm missing, the most is maybe be with people, the team, and have this atmosphere with all the fans, and this is what we try to get the most out of. The Discord and all these other things that happening now with the live, and it's working pretty well, I must say.
You've had some, I think we mentioned your teammates in the past, but you've had more recently, Johan Kristoffersen, one of the most dominant drivers in rallycross history, going back to Hervonen, Colin McRae, Richard Burns. Who would you say is your all-time best rival and teammate? 'Cause I think I've heard you say before you like a rival and a teammate, but who would you say has been your best teammate?
The thing is that, okay, I had Carlos Sainz and Tommy Mackin and everybody. And end of the day is that you can help each other and do the best for the team. I hate bullshit, and I hate people being snakes, trying to be smart enough. And the main thing is to get both fast as possible, like I did with Johan Kristoffersen in my team. It was well analyzed beforehand, before we got them in to drive. But you need to have fun together. This is the thing. And you compete, you sit in the car, and then you do the job. But again, it's for the team. That is the main thing that you get the results for. And then the other thing, what you do for yourself, well, it's additional your own proudness, basically. But every teammate is different, to be honest with you. If you compare Carlos Sainz and Tommy Mackin and Colin McRae, they are three completely different people. Richard Burns was fantastic driver and a gentleman. But as friends, I think Tommy Mackin, Colin McRae is maybe the two that I got closest to and had most fun with, and been most helpful for me personally to improve as a driver. They had not so much proudness, and they were supportive. And I think things like this, this is where I get maybe the most respect from people. That you help best as possible, and you have to fight together when everything is on equal things. And many times I can tell you, when I was young in the team, a lot of the first drivers in the team wanted to have the new equipment before, example, I got it. And I thought it was always unfair, why not get it, both of us? They wanted to have this small advantage. So when I got first driver in Subaru, and they came with new stuff, I told always the team that I never want to have anything on my car if not everybody gets it on the car, because I think it should be equal for everybody. So, and I was never afraid of a competition at all. And I think this I think is maybe one of the things that is very, very important, that we all have the same equal playing field, and then you fight.
You just mentioned the Subaru there. You were part of them for, I think, over 7 years. You're part of such a global and recognizable brand in motorsport, the famous blue and gold. I've been to places all over the world of you, Petter, and have seen the love you get, especially when we go to South America, for example. You've been part of such a huge motorsport brand for so long, and to see your son put on that same famous blue and gold last year as he was racing in North America, that must have been an awesome sight and an awesome feeling for you and the family.
Yeah, first of all, Oliver made his own job there to have a meeting with the guys, and made his own deal with the Subaru America.
Wow.
And that was great. And the first time he jumped into the car, I was in tears, because it's I have a long history and with them, and I think it was fantastic. And also Oliver was in America, he was a big fan of Ken Block, and he was when he was young, and then they come together. All this. It's so many things that you build up over history. And yes, for sure, the Subaru thing have been unbelievable. I remember that every airport I went to around the world early days, it was sold the Subaru World Rally car on every airport, every shop, and it was the most sold car in the world of radio control. And I think it's great. It was like the Ferrari in Formula One, and that's why the building of a brand and image has to be consistent, stability, and for the fans, this I think it's very, very important, and they did it right. And I was lucky enough to come in there and have a chance. And yeah, I should be humble enough that coming from a very small country in Norway, and get this possibility, and not speaking English when I came into the championship, but I was fast was a dream come true. Yeah.
I highly suggest, if you've not seen any of Petter's famous WRC interviews, there's lots of them on YouTube. Go and have a watch, because Petter is...
Well, maybe not look at everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Petter, what's next for you and the Solberg family?
Well, we have a series out in Norway and Sweden now, a documentary film, 8 series that comes out, Team Solberg. Huge success. Oliver had also the cinema that also came out in Belgium this weekend, Born to Drive. So a lot of things happening all the time, and I think the next thing for us now is, well, it's the R Factor Championship. I'm third there now with Button in front and Piro leading, so I think that's maybe the main focus. But now we're just waiting for the car to come from Mexico. It's coming in end of this month, and then hopefully things are calmed down, and we will start testing with Oliver as soon as possible. And of course, he have a contract with Skoda for also the championship. So we're trying to do long haul with the Polo and with the Skoda factory team for all the European. So, and for my own sake, it's nothing. I just working on trying to get the manufacturers team into the World Championship in rallying. Working for 1 year. We will see how it goes. It was a big stop now with everything since this happened. So we will see. I have no rush. I love following Oliver, and I love this gaming thing now also. Since it goes so well. So it just keep on pushing and have fun, basically.
I was hoping for an exclusive on your rally team in the future, but we'll hopefully we'll get that next time we speak to you.
Yeah, but I also want that the thing that I'm also burning a lot for is it's also the Gymkhana grid, and it's planned in I think it's between November, December in America. I really hope that will happen, and I think it's a fantastic event, and that's the one thing I will definitely do live with some of the cars we have in the museum, and we will see what's happening. Yeah.
What car are you taking to the Gymkhana grid this year?
I'm not sure yet. I'm building up a car now who will be hopefully even better than the cars I have been driving. Nice. Okay, it's still good, yeah, but you need to develop and try to move forward. And Gymkhana grid, yeah, it was for fun, but now it starts to be very serious for many people all around the world. And I don't want to be second,
Spoken like a champion.
Yeah, exactly. When you do a competition, you want to be fast, and it's like I said before. When I did the Formula One race this weekend and the R Factor race, it's actually one too much to prepare for. It's even in the e-gaming world, you need to have focus and do the details. So yeah, one thing at a time and do that properly, and then not too much rush to do everything, basically.
Petter, thank you very much for your time. Good luck with the rest of the All-Star Series, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Yes, definitely.
So that was our chat with Petter Solberg, who was a fantastic guy, wasn't he, Luke?
I've had the pleasure of kind of traveling for Petter for so long, and there were so many stories I couldn't even get him to start talking about, because this guy has traveled and kind of lived the life of a WRC style when they were getting paid multi-million pound contracts. It's an era of motorsport I don't think we're ever going to get to see again, and I just love the fact that he's kind of renewed his passion for motorsport after his farewell tour last year with getting into sim racing so heavily, even more so than his son Oliver. I think is awesome. He's got his own sim on the way now. He's not prepared to share it. I love that. Coming up next is one of my absolute favorite YouTubers. Real name Alex. You probably know him by the name FailRace. My favorite part of it is Survive the Hunt, which you're going to hear us talk about. If you haven't checked it out, go check out his YouTube channel. But first of all, here's an interview with FailRace. All right, we are joined by Alex, aka FailRace. He's got over 142 million views on YouTube last time I checked. Alex, first of all, how are you coping with lockdown?
Well, it's interesting times. It's interesting times for all of us. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference to me. I spend most of my time in my office playing games, racing pretend cars anyway.
Relatable.
So, yeah, exactly. It hasn't necessarily made the biggest of differences. You have all of these great plans at the start of the year, and suddenly it all goes a bit wrong. But at least, I'm not too bad off, really.
It seems like it's worked out quite nicely for you. You've kind of this boom in esports at the minute, and I've suddenly seen you joining up with some of the World Rallycross regular drivers racing in that series. How was that for you?
That is kind of a surreal experience, I have to say. It's like not so much like playing a game against them. I've played many games. You'll sit in online lobbies and whatnot. It's when you look at the broadcast, you see your face is there next to like Timmy Hansen. And it's like, I've watched you race in Rallycross for years, and suddenly I'm sat. It's a very, very weird experience, that one. Very cool. Do not get me wrong. An awesome experience. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I did not expect at the start of the year. I can tell you that much.
Are you planning on doing more as well? Are you trying? Do you have any more events coming up soon?
So, truth be told, I'm not actually, I said, that much of a sort of full-on esport driver. If you like, I'm more kind of entertainment and the sort of like serious side of things is something. It's a little bit different for me. I take my racing kind of seriously, but I'd love the chance to get involved. I haven't got any specific plans. I'm not necessarily the very greatest of drivers, but it is, yeah, it's like I'm definitely interested in now, especially after taking part with the Rallycross and whatnot. You kind of want to get involved with more events like that if possible.
It sounds like you're quite the racing fan then, aside from your kind of YouTube content. What kind of championships are you into around the world?
So, I mean, I grew up watching Formula One, of course, being in Britain. Certainly the BTCC touring cars have always been a big passion of mine. I'm actually a big fan of oval racing, which I know is unusual coming from a Brit, but I do actually, now all the NASCAR goes on YouTube, I do sort of try and keep up with that and follow that. Also a big fan of the V8 supercars, the Australian touring cars. I've watched them for a good few years now. If it races, the chances are I'm probably interested in it in one way or another.
I think one of my favourites, I even tweeted you a few days ago, I think, you probably won't know it was me, but your Survive the Hunt series has to be, I think, one of the greatest creations I've ever seen on YouTube. Where do I start with this? I think my question is, somebody doesn't understand how that is even possible. Let's start at the beginning. What platform are you producing Survive the Hunt on?
So it started back on Xbox 360 many years ago now. I don't remember when we started. It took us a good probably 6 months of working, not constantly, but working on and off, trying to get this rule set to create a game mode that would work. So we started off on the 360. We started having these ideas of how could we make this work? We'd try something, it didn't work. We'd leave it a couple of weeks. We'd rethink it, come back. And it's just gradually built from there. And because the crew we have has generally been on Xbox, we've stayed with Xbox. So we now do it on the Xbox One. So what you mentioned your crew there, I've recently been playing GTA Online, and I'm getting attacked by these aliens. How are you guys taking over a full lobby? How does that work? I'm sure there's many people around the world who watch and love this series, but have no clue how you're putting it together. So, I mean, we've generally done like open lobbies. I do quite much streaming now, and we've done sort of various open lobbies. And over time, you learn who are the sensible drivers, the people that you can trust, and so on as we go through. And we kind of get everybody together. We create our own little private session because you couldn't do that in a public lobby. Someone's going to have a flying car with rockets on, and it's going to kind of ruin the fun a little bit. But yeah, we just create our own little private session, create our own little rule sets, and kind of go from there.
For me, it was always the Forza Horizon Rally videos that I really enjoyed on your channel the most. I think going back to Forza Horizon 2, I went back and I watched your entire playlist of all of that. What would you say is your favorite racing game? I mean, just looking at what you've played on YouTube a lot, it's got to be GTA. Is it maybe Forza?
It's a really, really tough question. My favorite to probably make videos on is probably Horizon 4, to be honest. It kind of gives you a lot of freedom. For me, certainly video making wise, freedom is the most important thing. I like to be able to do something a little bit different. I don't want to just race around a specific circuit. Don't get me wrong, like specific circuit racing is fun for its own stuff, but you also want to be able to create a wacky rule set if I want to go do something stupid. And Horizon 4, you have this big sort of open world to play with. There's so many different things you can do. And that was what appeals most to me. Possibly my favorite racing game. I've not done a huge amount of videos on it, but Burnout Paradise is one that I spent so many hours playing Burnout Paradise. And that kind of got me into a lot of kind of online stuff, doing a lot of the challenges in there. The online challenges in that game was fantastic fun.
What's your first memory of a drive-in video game? I know I'm not going to say a racing game, a drive-in video game.
Okay, I think, again, very fuzzy memories. My dad had a very old PC. I think it was Lotus Challenge, Lotus Esprit Challenge, something like that. And I remember, God knows how old I would have been. I've been very young, but I remember like the cars on the road you move across. You can say it's like snow and all of those sort of things. And I must have been like 2 or 3 or something. I've tried to find a working copy of the game because I'd love to go and play it again, but it's very difficult to find something that old that still works these days.
So what do you make of the current, the world's kind of turned upside down on its head, but this current boom of esports? I think some people will say there's too much of it at the minute, but I think others are into this, where I think myself and Justin, you can probably tell we're into racing games just a little bit. But even myself and Justin are struggling to keep up with. How much of it are you watching around the world at the minute?
It is completely mad. There is so much going on. The best of times, there's a lot of motorsport. I try and follow what I can, but there's a lot of motorsport, and now everywhere's getting their own E-series and so on. I try to keep up. I'm certainly watching the V8 Supercar one a lot that they're doing. That's some crazy high production values they've got going on with that one. I mean, thoroughly enjoying that. And kind of bits and pieces. There is so much content out there to try and watch, which is kind of a good thing in some ways at this particular moment in time. I think it was always inevitable that we were going to start seeing more of this. Certainly, I don't follow much esport, sort of like general stuff outside of racing, but certainly that has been booming a lot of late. And I think it was only a time until the racing stuff started to kick off. And this has kind of just been almost forced everyone to kind of pay attention to it. So I think it was inevitable it was going to grow. Maybe not quite this quickly and with this many different directions all at once.
Will it sustain? Do you think? Do you think it'll hold out? Do you think it'll continue after this whole pandemic has ended?
I think we're going to see not the same level that we've got at the moment, of course.
Right.
I think it's too mad. You can't quite keep up with that. I think we may well see certain like off seasons. You may well see whether it's sort of full organized championships, but certainly like off seasons, I can imagine we're going to see bits and pieces here and there because it keeps fans interested. It keeps drivers. I think if drivers, like, I'm sure they're very busy, of course, but it keeps sort of some competition going and
keeps them sharp.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it keeps. I say people entertained, but it keeps people invested in a series almost. When it can be quite a few months between races or between seasons.
You mentioned supercars there. I'm wondering what would be your dream esports series to go and line up in. We've got the IndyCar, we've got NASCAR, we've got F1 esports. What would be your ultimate goal?
I think I'd love to have a go. I'd love to have a go with the V8 supercars that is going on at the moment. I would be probably not good enough. In my experience, I sadly never got to race against Van Gisbergen in the rallycross. It's never in the right heats or whatever. He's blooming good, and that's a series he doesn't know anything about, has never driven in, and just sort of turns up and thrashes most of the professionals. I'd love to have a go with that. Also, the oval racing would be good fun. I'm quite glad I got to take part in the rallycross one. It's been very, very exciting. You kind of keep these short, sharp races, kind of keep everything exciting. You don't have too many sort of laps when you're driving around on your own, not much going on. There's always something happening.
I actually need to make sure I get you an invite because I've seen Mitch Evans, the Formula E driver, Shane Van Gisbergen, Mitch Evans' brother. a load of the Aussie supercars guys are all getting together on their private dirt lobbies. So I think we need to get you involved.
All right, I'm up for that one. That would be fun.
We mentioned at the top of the show you're at 142 million views on YouTube. It seems like you've carved out a genuine kind of career for yourself out of YouTubing.
Yeah.
And what tips do you have for? There's many young YouTubers, especially now with this boom of esports. What tips do you have for young guys and girls trying to make it as a? Do we call you YouTubers anymore or content creators?
Yeah, whichever one works, to be honest. It is a very, very tough industry now. There's a huge amount of competition going out there. I think the most important thing is to try and find something that works for you and try and find something that's a little bit different. If I can go on YouTube and already find 10 people doing what you're trying to do, it's going to be very difficult for you to start. You might get lucky, sometimes that does happen, but it's all about certainly for me, it's all about being that little bit more creative. And at the end of the day, that's what people want to see. They want a bit of, I say personality, but they want something a little bit different. It is not going to be easy. I can guarantee you that. It certainly wasn't for me. And I started years ago when it was less competition. But you can do it. You just gotta work a little bit hard to make it work. And yeah, I say it just offers like a little bit different. And that is what people tend to like.
How many hours a week are you putting into recording?
I don't know. I know there have been weeks where there's certainly been a few weeks where it's probably been getting on for 80, 100 hours of work sometimes. That's not a regular week. That is not a regular week for me. Thank God for that, because that will kill you. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably work. To be fair, I wouldn't even know. It's probably got to be 40, 50, maybe more hours a week quite easily. And, you kind of, whatever needs doing, you kind of have to do it sometimes.
Are you doing all your own editing still?
Yeah. Okay. It's all my own editing. I stream, well, most of the time I stream 6 days a week for sort of 3 or so hours, along with the filming, the editing and whatnot. It is immensely time consuming. When you can sort of factor in all the editing, and there's a load of times you test stuff that just doesn't work. You have these great plans, you spend all this time trying to make a video or try to make something work, and it just doesn't by the time you're done with it, and you have to scrap it or try and massively convert it for something.
It seems like you enjoy this, though. It's something which I can tell while listening to you recording your content. It seems like you do it with a smile on your face. It's not a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love racing. I love coming up with challenges. Always have done. It's why I started doing this. Is I like coming up with challenges and seeing what I can make a game do. And now I've found a way I can make a living from doing this and sort of share these wacky, weird ideas that I end up coming up with. And yeah, there's nothing more rewarding than when you've had this mad idea, and after however long it is, you finally get it to work. You get that video at the end of it. That is immensely rewarding.
And what are you looking forward to right now? Obviously, we got Dirt 5, F1 2020, NASCAR Heat 5. There was the BTCC game that was talked about pretty recently. What are you excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was yesterday, I sort of heard rumors there's a BTCC game on the way, and I would very much be looking forward to that one. There's not been, I mean, I remember playing the old TOCA games, back on the PlayStation. I think I got TOCA 1 and 2 on the computer. I every so often try and get them to work because they're not the most cooperative thing. Yeah, I would love to see a proper British touring car game. I think that is very high on the list of ones that, I mean, I look forward to all of them, of course. But yeah, British touring cars, I would love to see turn into a game and have a good game for that one.
We actually, some of our colleagues are some of the original producers on the original TOCA games.
Oh, so, wow.
Our whole office is big fans of the PC series. And I think we're all looking forward to what's going to come out of this. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Right, my last question for you is, when's the next episode of Survive the Hunt coming up?
Well, you should mention that. They come out on the 1st of the month. However, there is this evening, we are filming. It's not a Survive the Hunt as such. I think sort of Survive the Hunt combined with Gone in 60 Seconds, and you might start getting along the line of what we're working on at the moment.
Interesting.
I'm looking forward to this. Alex, thank you so much for sparing the time for us. Guys, make sure you check out Alex's YouTube channel. Search FailRace into the search bar on YouTube, and I promise you have got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of amazing content to watch. Thanks again, mate, and yeah, we'll catch up soon.
All right, thank you very much for inviting me on here.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So that was our chat with FailRace, who, funny, we should talk about favorite racing games. I was mentioning Forza Horizon. FailRace is kind of the guy that got me into Forza. Again, his rally videos on the Forza Horizon games was part of the reason that I was so excited when 3 was being brought to the PC side. And one of the reasons that I pre-ordered right away, because I was so excited after seeing his video. So that was fantastic, meeting up with FailRace. And I know you prefer the Survive the Hunt stuff, but for me, it's all about the rally stuff. Yeah. I love his rally videos.
So we recorded this interview last week, so I've actually had a chance to go and watch the Gone in 60 Seconds type video that he's spoke about. Seriously, I don't think you've watched it yet, Justin.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
And honestly, guys, if you're guys and girls listening, seriously, get onto his YouTube channel. He's a guy that continues to surprise me, very much like Aarava. These two don't just go and do career mode videos. These
Innovating.
Guys, exactly. These guys are like true content creators. He generally has a crazy dream, and he gets his band of merry followers involved, and it's sometimes up to like 20 people in a lobby. And I find that stuff genuinely amazing. Am I a creator? Are we creatives? We haven't really introduced ourselves. We're both the social media managers for Motorsport Games and NASCAR Heat. So we like to think we're creative, but like my driver, I don't even think I'd have the patience to do one season of that, let alone 5.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before on social media, but I'll say it again just for the wider audience. Aarava sends me scripts, so I'm not, I'm not doing any of the creative stuff when I involve myself in my driver. Aarava has, again, I've put this out there before. I've actually tweeted before pictures of the scripts that he would send me, and he is very specific. Sometimes I'll move some words around so it sounds more natural in my own voice, small things like that. But I mean, he puts so much work into it, right down to writing out the things that I, as the playing the role of the newscaster, am going to be saying. So I mean, he goes through with a fine-tooth comb and just does every little detail, picking stuff here and there. He'll record races and say, you know what, that wasn't entertaining enough, and he'll re-record the race from the beginning.
That's really cool, man.
I don't know if you've ever done back-to-back identical races in a racing game for an hour or however long a 50% race takes, but yeah, that could get pretty tiring pretty quickly. So yeah, you got to respect the dedication.
I was just about to say, I'm like knackered after a 3-lap race in F1 2019. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Look, we've just winged this. It's our first ever podcast. We thought we'd get some amazing guests involved. And I like to think we did pretty good for the first episode, Justin.
We nailed it. We nailed it with the guests. Those were 3 great guests.
Hopefully coming up, we're going to be able to give you exclusives into the Motorsport Games lineup, maybe a few hidden announcements. We might drop a few teasers in down the line, but everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're watching on YouTube, and we will be back very, very soon, we promise. And yeah, take care.
Thank you.